Buckeyes Outside, your place to get the knowledge to get you hunting. So, despite small game being a great place to start hunting, the odds are that you're going to hunt deer. There are about 15 million hunters in the United States, and there's about 11 million deer hunters. However, only 5 million of those deer hunters are bow hunters. And that's a shame, because under most circumstances, I believe that archery is the best place to start hunting. And I'm not the only one. Let's hear what a first-year hunter had to say about archery hunting. So, you had your first year of deer hunting. It was pretty successful. You got a couple of deer with the bow and a couple of deer with the rifle. What did you like more and why?
Well, I like the bow more for deer hunting because there's warmer weather and there's less clothes, so it's easier to walk. Also, shorter distances to shoot. The crossbow didn't kick like the gun. Sometimes when I shot the rifle, my shoulder hurt. And plus, bows are quieter. Plus, no earmuffs. It's a win-win.
Those were some good points, and I have a few things to add. It's a little easier to obtain permission on private land if you go to a landowner and ask to archery hunt rather than ask to hunt with a firearm. The seasons in most states are also longer. In Ohio, ours runs from the end of September to the 1st of February. There's also a lesser amount of hunters in the woods. So that means you have a little more free range and you're not always running into people, and a little less competition. It's also easier to shoot in your backyard for practice. In most places, not everybody has a 200-yard rifle range in their backyard. And there are usually plenty of archery ranges around, even if you can't shoot your bow in your backyard. There are several different kinds of bows. You have the long bow or a recurve, which essentially are sticks with strings. And then you have compound bows and crossbows. For the beginner, my recommendation would be a crossbow. You're going to have to check your regulations because they are not legal to hunt with in every state. The crossbow has several advantages over all of the other vertical bows. If crossbows aren't legal in your area, or you insist on making things harder than they have to be, like I do, I will have a more comprehensive video of compound bows in the future. Another advantage is that your physical size and strength isn't necessarily a factor. There are cocking devices available to help you draw the bow back, and you can use a shooting stick or a tripod to stabilize the bow while you're hunting. If you're younger and still growing, you're not going to outgrow the crossbow. There's no changes in draw length, and also many bows come with adjustable stocks. Crossbows are also typically faster, and there's less chance for a deer to move at the sound of the shot, especially with the newer crossbows. Some of the new crossbows are insanely fast. I believe some of the models out there will shoot over 400 feet per second. They come with a pretty hefty price tag too. I think some of them run somewhere $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000. Eventually, you're going to want a basic list of equipment, and I'm going to run that down for you. For starters, you're going to need a bow. Crossbows range anywhere from $250 on up to thousands of dollars. A couple recent deals I had was that Barnett crossbow that you'll see in a couple of the pictures. I got that on a clearance sale for $250. I also recently picked up the other crossbow that you see in the video is a Horton. It's a discontinued. They got bought out. You can't buy parts for them, but I did get it. It's in great working order, and I picked it up for $150, and that seems to be the average going rate for those that are in good shape. So that might be an option to look into. If you're going to buy a used bow, though, take it to a bow shop and have them look it over before you buy it. You have to worry about limbs being cracked and many other parts that could wear out. You're also, in most cases, you're going to need a rope cocker. It aids in the assist of pulling the crossbows back. Typically, the weight that you pull back on those is somewhere in the 150, 160, 170 pound range. That can be difficult, and the problem is that makes it more difficult to pull back by hand is the angle at which it locks into the bow. You almost have to have a rope cocker for most new crossbows especially. You're also going to want arrows for your crossbow, which are actually called bolts. You're going to need field points to practice with those. If they don't come with them, you're going to have to buy those separately. Look up the manufacturer's recommendations. Arrows are going to run you about $50 for 6. And to hunt with, you're also going to need broadheads. Those run about $40 for 3. I like expandable broadheads. You're going to need a target. Targets are going to run you somewhere between $60 and $80 for a decent one that'll stop your bolts. If your crossbow doesn't come with a scope or a red dot, you're going to want to buy one of those separately. You ought to be able to get a decent one for about $100, and you're just going to have to decide what you like more, a scope or a red dot. The red dots are nice for me personally, especially if you're just starting out. I recommend getting one with one single red dot and sighting it in for somewhere close to 20 yards, and that should cover you pretty well for your first year. Eventually, you may want to move on to a different type of sight and venture out to 30 or 40 yards. You can figure on your whole setup costing somewhere about $500 for a decent setup that's going to give you a good chance of success. After you get the necessities out of the way, there are some good add-ons that you would want to consider adding. First one would be a game camera. Those are game changers, and those can be great for getting patterns on deer. Tell you what time they're coming in, what time they're leaving. A really great tool to have. First year or two, I would recommend you go with a ground blind. Then eventually I'd go to a tree stand if you're comfortable with that. You're going to want some binoculars, a rangefinder. Tripods are real handy. And some of the calls can be very good certain times of the year. I like those can bleat calls. You're probably going to want a grunt tube and some rattling antlers. Hunting clothes are a whole nother topic, but the long and short of it is the best thing to have would be some waterproof jacket, parka, bib combo if they're in your budget. You could spend anywhere from $150 to probably $1,000 getting what you want. It's going to depend on the area you live and how cold it gets when you're going to go out. You can do it as simply as some Carhartt pants or bibs, a coat, and you can take a camouflage t-shirt and put over the top. But you're going to want good boots. You're going to want waterproof boots. I like muck boots for hunts with less walking, and I like a hunting style boot for hiking and long distances. On top of that, you're going to want to top it off with a ball cap, a beanie cap, and I like thin gloves with grippies on them for shooting. I like a nice snug fit. I don't want the gloves getting in the way of a trigger. After a successful hunt, if you don't have a truck bed to put your deer in, you're going to want a tarp to put down in your trunk. And even then, your car's going to stink for a while. Another option is a cargo carrier that will go in your hitch and then wrap the deer in a tarp to keep road dirt off your hard-earned meat. You're also going to want a knife with about a 3-inch blades at pretty good size. I've done it with a razor utility knife to field dress a deer. You don't need to go out there looking like Rambo. If you're going to cut up your own deer, you'll probably need some sort of a butcher set. Videos are all over YouTube. I'll probably make one in the next year or so about how to process a deer. Don't forget a backpack and a good first aid kit. When you get this equipment, You're going to want to practice, practice, practice. Ideally, start in July. Shoot a lot of arrows. Judging yardage is important. Make judgments and check and see if you're right. Distances look different in the woods and in fields. Knowing if a deer is standing at 20 yards or 40 yards is going to mean the difference between a hit or a miss, or wounding a deer and recovering the animal. Something else to consider are shot angles. We'll have more on this in later videos, but for now, a basic rundown. Ideally, the animal is going to be broadside to you when you take a shot. This is going to give you the best opportunity at striking the vitals. The vital organs include the heart and lungs of the deer. The second best shot, in my opinion, is slightly quartered away. When archery hunting, be very aware that a deer that is quartered to you even slightly is going to block the vital organs with its shoulder, and you stand a good chance of wounding the animal. A quartered to you shot should never be taken with archery equipment. I hope you like the channel. I hope it helps you out, and I hope you learned something. And if you do,
like and subscribe right now or you won't get any deer this year.